One. Welcome back, everybody, to our continuing quadcast of conference previews here at HoopsHD. If you were looking for the Atlantic 10, up there. The American, it's up there. The West Coast is down there. This is our Mountain West Conference preview. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood.
Mountain West. All right.
David Griggs and John Sleeka.
Show.
Yeah.
David Griggs and John Sleeka to my sides. David Dorman in the center square. Matt Zukowski and John Teitel to his sides. From Bracketeer.org, we got Rocco Miller. We also have Mike Cha joining us. We have almost a full panel. We've almost filled all 9 boxes. This is our Mountain West preview show. And, while we are doing 4 podcasts tonight of these conferences that are not considered power conferences, but are generally put multiple teams in, this is the second conference we've done tonight that has a defending team out of the Final Four last year. I spoke about Florida Atlantic earlier. Now we got San Diego State here in the Mountain West. Made it all the way to the national championship game last year. And I think that should definitely be the place we start. And Matt, let me start with you here on the San Diego State Aztecs and how they are this year. Lamont Butler back, Matt Bradley not back.
No, but I think we got another Pac-12 transfer ready to step right into his place. Reese Waters, I think he used to go by Reese Dixon Waters, but I think he's just going by Reese Waters now from USC. I think he steps right into Matt Bradley's role as the lead scorer, averaging about 14, 15 a game, which, given that the San Diego State's play a little bit of a slower pace defensive style, that'd be like 18, 19 a game in other places. But yeah, they should still be really good. And then Brian Dutcher does an amazing job, and we just talked about dated and what could have been in 2020 for them. San Diego State got their reclamation this past season, and I think should have a pretty good follow-up this year.
Yeah, Rocco, that's a great point that San Diego State did get their reclamation last year from what happened after that great team they had in the conference tournament. Yeah.
They absolutely did.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. They absolutely did, Chad. I think, that was good to see, especially, the funny thing about you mentioning San Diego State and Florida Atlantic both being recorded tonight on this quad extravaganza that you're so nice to host. The funniest thing about both of them is they both could have easily lost in the first round. With 3 minutes to go, San Diego State and Charleston were tied. And that game was in the balance the whole way and made some really key plays just to get out of the first round. Obviously, they caught a nice break playing a Furman team riding on cloud 9 and just happy to be in the second round. And then they kind of really that second weekend beating Alabama and Creighton back to back is just amazing. And that's a credit to Brian Dutcher, the program, the defense, the commitment to defense, what Nathan Mensah brought for 4 years defensively, basically a unicorn on D. Everybody plays hard D on this team and in this program, and that's not going to stop just because he's gone. But I do think, even though I love the scoring prowess of both Trammell and Butler, I think the front line is definitely taking a little bit of a step back. This feels like one of those San Diego State teams to me, maybe not quite top 25 good, probably should still be the pick to win the league, but I think they're going to have their struggles. I think they lose at least 4 league games. They've been able to win the league at 14-4 before, but I don't think it's as strong of a team as last year.
Mike, you had a thought on them also?
Pardon me?
You had a thought on San Diego State also?
Oh yeah, they should be the favorites to win, and rightly so. Lamont Butler, Darian Trammell, they're back, and then when you have Reese Waters as a newcomer, they're not going to be hurting for talent, and provided with good health, they should win the Mountain West. Boise State, they're going to be up there, and New Mexico will be contending, but San Diego State's the favorite.
Yeah, speaking of Boise State, Dorman, this is a pretty loaded roster that Leon Rice has this year, a team that was a 10 seed last season.
Absolutely, Chad. Leon Rice back for his 14th season. He is bringing back his son, sharpshooter Max Rice, really can really hit from long range, hit some big shots down the stretch in big games in March. Also coming back, Chibuzo Agbo and Tyson Degenhardt. So they are experienced. They got kids that have played big minutes in important games. The one downside, a kid I've loved watching for the last couple of years, their point guard, Tony Shaver, finally has graduated and will be no more. Did a lot of the little intangibles, so they'll need to replace him or find someone that can do the little things. But I really like this team. I'm a big fan of Leon Rice. And if you can believe this, they went to the tournament last year, back-to-back seasons for the first time in program history. I say they not only do that, I say they go back for a third time. They got some good games out of conference. They'll test themselves with Clemson, Virginia Tech, San Francisco, and a real big one I can't wait to see against St. Mary's.
Yeah, Tytel, do you agree with him? Do you like this Boise team?
Love the big man Tyson Dagenhart. I got to interview him last March as he was preparing for his NCAA tournament game. Seems like a great kid and a great player. Had hoped to interview Max Rice earlier this month, but SID and I could not really get on the same page, unfortunately. I don't think they're going to make it back to the tournament, but solid top tier team, and certainly in the conference tourney, anything goes.
It does. Stalika, Nevada was in the tournament last year in the first four, and arguably, in my opinion, at least did not belong in the tournament, but they were there in Rutgers' spot. What about Steve Alford's team this year?
Well, I think to be fair, we're all hoping for a team from New Jersey instead of Nevada getting in the field. But it was a step in the right direction for Steve Alford after he migrated over from UCLA. They're going to have some decent talent returning back in Jared Lucas, Keenan Blackshear, Nick Davidson, and one-time Seton Hall Pirate Tyler Powell. But if we're looking at teams that Nevada is going to be scheduling out of conference, their big tournament's going to be in the Diamond Head Classic around Christmas time, which will include a reloading Temple team, either TCU or Old Dominion. Hopefully they get TCU, so at least they get a quality team. But I think the game I'd also be looking forward to would be a game against Drake that's going to be played down in Henderson and suburban Las Vegas.
Yeah, Matt, what do you think? Do you think that this Nevada team gets back in?
They do not. I think if they had kept Will Baker, I think there's a good chance they would. But I think just losing a talent like him, that's could be a step too far for them. And then they're actually, I prefer another team that resides in Nevada.
Another team that resides in Nevada. Okay, we'll get them in a second here. But Rocco, before we get there, Richard Pitino's New Mexico team, who just got a little bit of good news today as well.
Yeah, New Mexico. Well, I think it starts with Mashburn and House. Like they were unbelievable last year with Udeze. Udeze is gone, but Mashburn and House are back. And then the good news is Nelly Jr. Joseph. Those that watch Metro Atlantic basketball know him well. Big man from Iona coming in from one Pitino to the next. He was stuck in Nigeria for the last month or two. And I was at Media Day last week talking to Jeff Grammer, their beat writer. And he was like, yeah, we don't know when he's coming back, but I just saw like an hour before we recorded this, he's officially back in Albuquerque. They have an exhibition game tomorrow night. I'm not sure if he's going to dress up for that. He hasn't even practiced. But I know he worked out with the team back in the spring. So obviously he's a nice piece. You can start to count on him now that he's all good to go. And then Mustafa Amzil, from Dayton. He was always a talent that I liked a lot at Dayton. They add the depth with him. Jamarl Baker, who's had some injuries, but he's had a big, long college.
Still in college?
Yeah, he's still in college. Got one more year. They got him over from Fresno. Been at Arizona before that. And Isaac Mushila, who was probably Texas A&M Corpus Christi's best player last year, has some March Madness experience. That's just a great grad transfer to have coming off your bench. The thing that I got to cover in New Mexico like 3 times last year. And I mean, with those 3 guys basically taking all the shots, now they've actually got more guys that can shoot. I'm not sure how much House and Mashburn want to share the ball, but they've got a really nice nucleus now to really do the little things, rebound, defend, a lot of the things they were missing last year. This looks like a really, really solid team if everybody is healthy and available.
Tytel, you weren't that high on Boise. How about New Mexico? Are you with Rocco on them? You're on mute again.
I was saying, how many Patinos do we need in this tournament, Shad? I do like
Just one, and not and only the one from New Mexico. Okay.
I do like the returners. So many seniors: House, Baker, Mushilla, Nelly Jr., Joseph, Mashburn Jr., Amzil. Like, he's got a gazillion seniors. He also has a horrible non-conference schedule, which I think is going to bite him in the butt, because even if they pile up a bunch of wins in Joby's favorite conference, I just don't see them like getting any good metrics from the non-conference schedule. But somebody please tell me I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong.
I'm hearing
I like
crickets
their
at
team,
the
but
at the
I'm with
moment.
you, Titel.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the
I'm with you.
schedule hurts. I mean, this is a good team. They've got a really good makeup, and they needed to give themselves some chances to actually demonstrate that they are good, and they didn't.
Yeah, in my opinion, they've got, it's just going to put some of their bigger games, like the game at St. Mary's, and the Santa Clara neutral game and the UC Santa Barbara home game, a little bit more under the microscope than they otherwise would have been if they had a strong schedule. But at the same time, if you go back and look at Nevada's schedule last year, the last team in the field, it wasn't anything unbelievable either. So I think my point is that the Mountain West has become so deep, that there's tough games every night in this league now. You can build a resume that way. It's not my preference. I know it's not your preference, but I don't think it kills them.
I'll tell you, I'm looking at their schedule right now.
They were 18-2 at one point and didn't get in last year. Anyway, go ahead, Chad.
But look at their schedule here in terms of Ken Palm preseason ratings, which I think is a fairly good metric to look at this point, because things like RPIs and nets and stuff are not in fact there. They only have two sub 200 teams. Now they don't have any. They only have one top 100 team, and well, actually two, I guess, with UC Irvine and St. Mary's. But everybody's in that 100 to 180 range, so it's not going to push the net way down. It's not going to be an awful strength of schedule. It's just they're not going to have that marquee win unless they get that St. Mary's win.
Same.
So I think it could be worse.
We also have to keep in mind New Mexico was unbeaten in conference play last year, but what torpedoed them was going sub 500 in the Mountain West.
All right. Dorman, how about Colorado State, one of our favorite teams because they play in the Front Range? Nico Medved's squad. Did they have a shot this year?
Absolutely. I think this is a top half team in this conference, and they returned 3 starters. A lot of the guys that played some big time minutes return. I like Nico Medvedev. I like his style. I think this team is strong. I think this team is top half of a good conference. I think Colorado State's going to the tournament from this conference. Don't tell Joby.
Mike, you agree with him?
Yes, I can't disagree. I was going to say back to Nevada, they just didn't. I remember Nevada didn't have anything impressive. They didn't have anything bad, and that was the difference. That's why they got the last spot. I don't think Nevada's luck's going to be on their side this year. But New Mexico, you got Mashburn Jr. I think he's going to be an impact player for them, and he's going to have to be if they're going to have any chance to make the NCAA tournament.
Matt, I know you want to talk about that other team from Nevada, so go ahead.
There, guys, I've been pretty much across the board of not deviating from projections, all that. This is where I'm going for it. I think UNLV makes the tournament this year. I think third year Kevin Kruger and that Lodge kid. And I think he loaded up in the transfer portal and has a top recruit. Dean Thomas, one of the better recruits to enter the Mountain West in a long time. And that as a freshman. And that Jalen Hill from Oklahoma, the Boone twins from Oklahoma State. And then you got Isaiah Cacho from West Virginia eligible this year. I think with that roster, I think there might be that 3rd/4th team. I think it's a good league to where you'll bring 3 or 4, and that's where UNLV be at. And they won't be in by much. They might be in Dayton, but I think they make the tournament.
Matt, though, here's my problem. Isn't this what Kevin Kruger did each of the last 2 seasons? He just loaded up on the transfer portal and didn't get it done. So isn't he just doing the same thing?
Well, I think getting the big time freshman kid at the point guard spot too, which is
that's a freshman though. It's just like a transfer. It's a new player.
But there you go. I think that's where that might be,
experience.
Especially being that he'll be a high level talent that he could have played anywhere in the country. And that again, Dean Thomas. I think that's gonna be the difference for them and why I got that. And you got a nice sharpshooter recruit returning with the Justin Webster that like will play off. I think some of these athletic wings and bigs, and the point guard will get him the ball.
Rocco, Utah State was in the tournament last year, but it's not quite the same roster, and it's not the same head coach.
0 returning minutes, Chad.
Yeah.
0. So you could say percent or total minutes. It's a brand new team. And so Danny Sprinkle did a tremendous job in Bozeman, his alma mater. I know it wasn't easy for him to leave, but in college coaching, it's a natural step up to go from the Big Sky to the Mountain West. So congratulations on the job. And I think he'll enjoy playing in the Beehive State. Utah State's every year one of the best, toughest places to play. And I think they'll still be a tough home team, even with all these new pieces. And I like the fact that he got Great Osabor, one of his core players from Montana State, to follow him. He also brought in Jackson Grant, a Seattle guy, a lot of Northwest connections, transfer from Washington, to go along with some other good pieces. I think like I said, by the time we get to Mountain West play, this team will be much more closer to a finished product. And I just kind of see with him, his first year, I see them being a really good home team. They might have some real road struggles. I think it's going to be a little too difficult for them to crack the top 6, because I think the top 6 in this Mountain West is very strong. But I think they're going to be a really solid team, and probably right there in contention for 7th.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Rocco, and let me ask everybody. No starters are back, 0 returning minutes, a new coach.
Nothing. Yeah.
But is Wild Bill gonna come back?
He is
Remember
coming
Wild
back.
Bill. Wild Bill is back.
All right.
The can is back.
The Mountain West has the best fans, by the way.
They really do.
In the arena, you got Snake at New Mexico. You
Yeah,
got the Barrel guy at Wyoming. You got Wild Bill.
The show down in
San Jose State. San Jose State's got the Duck. I mean, this is all about the in-arena fans conference.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Washington State and Oregon. Oh, wait, that's next year.
Next year.
Griggs, I was going to ask you, there are 3 and only 3 teams we have not discussed yet: Wyoming, Fresno State, and Air Force. Is there anything you like about any of those?
Well, I love so much about all 3 of them. First of all, Wyoming and Arizona and Air Force are front range teams, and we at HoopsHD love the front.
Nobody gets higher than Wyoming.
Nobody gets higher than Wyoming. Air Force gets close, but not quite there. And we've got the greatest coach in college sports history at San Jose State.
I did not mention that. I said Fresno State, Wyoming, and Air Force. Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'll give you your 3 seconds on San Jose State.
They were certainly making progress. I think their program is definitely going in the right direction. I think that this will be a transitional year, we'll call it, because a lot of the key pieces from last year's
Amari Moore is gone, Diallo is gone.
The Duck is back. Duck is back.
Is there anybody that wants to make a case for any of these bottom teams here that we haven't really discussed? San Jose, Wyoming, Fresno, Air Force. I'll give you 3 seconds to chime in.
I think it's amazing for where Wyoming was 2 years ago and where they are now. It's like there's probably a little bit more actual position in life, but still, man, like
it's an all new roster. But this is I kind of see them maybe doing kind of what Utah State, what Rocco said Utah State might do. This also is be a little competitive by the end of the season. But no, I don't think they're a good team.
We'll get into this on the West Coast podcast, but Wyoming's best player from the past couple of years has transferred to Gonzaga.
Well, he wasn't their best player last year. He didn't play at all last year, but
I think that was part of the problem.
Yeah, that's a good segue, because one of their next best players is going to be starting for Fresno State this year, Xavier Dussel. And Fresno State staff loves their team this year. I mean, they might be a little bit on the hot seat.
Very much on the hot seat, I think.
Yeah. But they've got some pieces, and Isaiah Hill's back to run the show. So they really like the transfer from ASU, who didn't get on the court very much. I think he's had some injuries. Enoch Boaki, he's ready and healthy. Fresno State's, if they've established any kind of identity, it's through the Orlando Robinson years, playing through their big man. They're expecting him to be quite the rim protector for them, and they'll be one of the bigger teams in the league. So curious to see what Fresno can do this year. And obviously,
they lost a lot of games last year by a few points. If they can flip the switch on that and they win those games instead of lose by a few, they're gonna have a nice winning season.
They're gonna play a lot of ugly, low scoring games for you guys in the Vegas area. Just keep that in mind.
I'm going to go through each of you now, answer 3 questions for me. Who's going to win the conference? How many bids? And any other final thoughts you might have on the Mountain West. Titel, let me start off with you this time.
It seems ridiculous to think this is a one bid league, but I'm predicting a one bid league. I
Wow.
think I know.
Whoa.
Wow.
Other shots fired. Hot take. San Diego
It's
State
Joby.
wins this conference easily. I really think Nevada's schedule, despite your insistence that it's not terrible, I get it. There are 100 to 200 level games, but I really think it's going to bite Patino in the butt. And I just think that Boise and Nevada and others lost too much from last year. Prove Joby wrong, everybody. We'll see what happens. As far as final thought, I wanted to talk about San Diego State specifically in terms of scheduling. So their big showcase game is on Friday, December 29th, but it's on ESPN2 at Spokane against the Zags. And I was like, why on earth is this amazing non-conference game on ESPN2? And the reason is because the Cotton Bowl is that night at the exact same time on ESPN. Why does anybody care about the Cotton Bowl? Oh yeah, it's part of the college football playoff this year, so it's going to be 2 great teams playing football. And I hate it because this basketball game is good enough that it should be on the ESPN1 in prime time, and unfortunately it got bumped, albeit for an understandable but killing me reason, the college football playoff. And lastly, Chad, can you please ask the puppet who is the coach of the year in this conference in 2023?
Well, it was Tim Miles.
You really don't have to get.
Tim Miles.
Please don't get
I
him
mean-
started.
I mean, the
Matt,
greatest coach
Matt, you're
was
up.
the coach of the year
All
national.
right, so, I will be.
Dark web conspiracy.
I don't know if it's a total opposite of Titel, but like I got 3 in, and I'd really like to get a 4th. But I think just the A10 tournament scenario and the fact that I think a lot of the power conferences there's going to be no 2 or 3 bid leagues there. Like I like the Pac-12, so therefore, like I'd love to get a 4th, but I only can get 3. I got San Diego State winning it, got New Mexico, and I got UNLV.
UNLV, there it is. Stalika.
I think it's going to be pretty easy to say San Diego State wins the Mountain West Conference. I do think there's probably going to be a couple other conferences falling short on bids, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see the Mountain West Conference ultimately get 3 bids right here. I think Boise State will probably find a way to end up repeating, and since I'm not very bullish on Nevada, I think New Mexico is going to end up getting that bid. But as far as a final thought, there is also going to be a potential new arena for the Nevada Wolfpack that's going to be on the horizon, because supposedly in the Grand Sierra Resort, they're looking at a possible 10,000 seat arena that's going to be part of a 1 billion with a B makeover of the whole complex. So there's not going to be any public funding, as far as I know, that's going to be part of this new arena project.
Okay. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Comfortably, I say 2 bids. Could be 3 if things break out right. I think what John said is right, that you're going to have some teams in major conferences fall down. That means someone that can open up a spot or 2 for the non-major conferences. Mountain West could benefit from that. So definitely San Diego State's basically a shoo-in. I say 2, maybe 3 if things break right for them.
I'm going 3. I'm going San Diego State as the champion. I'm going Boise State in. I think New Mexico gets that 3rd. I think Nevada, maybe even Colorado State could be there, but I'm going New Mexico that 3rd. Rocco, what about you?
Yeah, I think if New Mexico has all the pieces that we see here on paper and hit full stride from the first night, that they're my pick to.
And they got to play a little better defense than last year, also, by the way. But I didn't
Right,
throw
which
that
is
out there.
what,
Go
well,
ahead.
that's why to me this whole Nelly Jr. Joseph thing is so important, because he will be their rim protector, and I think some of the other pieces they brought in will help a lot on that side of the ball as well. You've already got your scorers established, big time. House and Mashburn, both first team all Mountain West. So I do think if they keep that core together, I know it's a lot to ask to do a whole season of health or not any weird waiver issues, but if they can pull that off, New Mexico will be my pick to win the league. And then I think San Diego State is just the steady Eddie. Obviously, they have enough back. If teams beat themselves or lose players to injury, San Diego State's like the default champion, and they're still good enough that they're a tournament team. So I do like those 2 to get in. I also think Boise, just they're, no matter how many nights they struggle shooting the ball and other nights they do shoot it well, combined with their strong schedule, will be plenty enough, I think, to get Boise in that normal like 9, 10, 11 seed range. So I think all three of those teams get in, and then I'm looking at Colorado State as a tremendous, probably the best. Denver, New Mexico, the best offensive team in the league. Will they have enough defense? I think they fall just short, but I think they're close to the bubble. And then I also, I'm not going to argue UNLV or Nevada either. I think they have upside to get there. I'm just not going to predict them to get in. But I think those are the big six. It's really hard for me to see anybody getting in outside of those six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dorman.
I like Colorado State as a dark horse. Sorry, just wanted to chime in with that.
Best
I
player
like
in the
that
league.
point, Mike, because I'm with you. I got 4. And we've gone through some of the power conferences, and we thought we were a few short from years past. And I think that the Mountain West is the one that benefits the biggest, because I have 4, and 5 I don't think is that crazy, because I agree with you guys on UNLV and Nevada have some chances here. But I have New Mexico in, Colorado State in, Boise State in, San Diego State also in, those 4. I don't think San Diego State is that much better than the rest of these 3 that I have in. I don't think they run away with this conference. I think the losses are bigger than people are realizing. I really do. I have Boise State winning it.
And the tournament's at UNLV's home court, so if they get the right matchups, they could surprise.
Well, it's funny how often they get outnumbered on their own court, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
It is nice to sleep in your own bed, though. It's very nice.
But yeah, they don't control the tickets for that. The conference, does divvy the tickets up, and there is a lot of travel to that event, being where it is. But Griggs, and they even changed the floor in there. But Griggs, go ahead.
I think it's going to be 3 teams. I don't think anybody makes it up to a protected seed. I think 3 with 2 in the 7-10 range, and maybe San Diego State getting up to about a 5 or a 6. I like San Diego State, Boise to get back for a 3rd straight time. And I kind of like New Mexico, despite the weaker schedule. It wouldn't shock me if they didn't make it, because I think their margin for error is smaller because of their schedule, but I still think in the end they end up getting in. And to echo something Rocco and I had going earlier, the fan bases and the support for this conference are unbelievable. It's great fan theater.
It's awesome.
I don't know that I ever remember us having a conference where we had such diversity from 1 bid to 4 bids in the preseason. So this might be a record for us here. We'll see what happens. But I do want to take a chance to thank everybody for joining us. If you were looking for the American or the A10, they're both up there. West Coast is down there. But on behalf of David Griggs, John Salika, David Dorman, Matt Sikowski, John Teitel, Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org, Mike Cha, I'm Chad Sherwood. I think I got everybody. And we will talk to you again just in a few minutes from now down the West Coast Conference preview.